You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, but we do have a lot of callers. 21 to be exact. I don't know what the record is of calls we've gotten through. I doubt it's 21. We're going to do as good of a speed round as we possibly can with me trying to shut up. Here we go.
Hey, Ryan, Jenner from California.
Hey.
You know, I'm really tired of all these guys talking about Jordan Love's interception. Yeah, it's a problem. We've seen clean football. But that's beyond the point. Think about how many games he's played. Think about his number of touchdowns. If this was a full 17-game season, he didn't miss any games, the guy would be on pace for 51 touchdowns. Like, what are we talking about? Right? 3 times 17? That's 51 touchdowns. Yeah, he had 8 interceptions. We can clearly at least point to 2 to 4 of them where something happened with the receiver and it was a miscommunication. And then, yes, he's got 6 probably, 5 probably really bad interceptions, but it's still early in the season. We know this team is a second-half team, and we're getting to that point where now it's week 8, 9, 10. We're about to get into playoff form, and we're about to roll into Detroit. We're about to smash those schools. But first, the Jaguars are going to see the next wrinkle of the Jeff Hafley defense. So this team people don't know because we're still in our sloppy football stage. We're about to cut out penalties. We're about to cut out interceptions. So they don't know what's coming. Just watch. Jordan Love, he's going to be MVP. This defense, we're cleaning it up. We're about to take the next step and clean it up even more. We're about to get interceptions. We're about to hold down the yardage. Let's go. Super Bowl this year. We're about to take out the Lions in 2 weeks. The Jaguars get it first. And then the rest of the NFC North can have it. And then we'll be in New Orleans this year. We'll be playing the Super Bowl, and it doesn't matter who's on the other side. That's all I got. Go Pack, go.
I mean, we've been talking about how this team is going to get better, right? Because they're not playing up to the standard that we know that they can play to, and it seems like every week they continue to get better. Now, again, I'm not going to dismiss the interceptions like they don't exist, but you're right. When you look at the context of how insane he's playing right now with the touchdowns and everything else, it is actually really interesting because I don't give the media a lot of credit for looking beyond surface level stuff. Jordan Love has thrown 1 billion interceptions. A bunch of Packer fans are pissed. A lot of the media that I've seen all through this period where Jordan really isn't at the top of any lists, maybe it's the touchdowns, I don't know. There's a whole lot of Jordan's a top 5 quarterback. And I'm sitting here going, all right. I'm not going to argue with it. It's great. Sounds good.
Hey, Ryan, from Virginia.
Hey.
Listening to talk about the whole Brett Favre, Jordan Love thing. I mostly agree with you, and I just hate, every player has to be compared to past players just across the board. It's a little silly to do all this comparison, but I don't know. I kind of think you're looking a little too much at the numbers. Jordan Love and Brett Favre are very different quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong. I'm not contradicting pretty much what you're saying, but where I say Jordan Love is like Brett Favre, it's not numbers and stuff like that. It's not rates and stuff like that. It's that they both have this mentality that they can make every throw. And that's where it is. It's like, you get these wow plays, these tight windows, stuff you didn't really get as much with Rodgers. He was so careful with the ball. He wouldn't throw those contested passes for the most part. Not that he would throw tight window passes, but you know what I mean. But they have this mentality that they can make every throw. If we'll look at a pick and be like, what was Jordan Love thinking? And I'll tell you what he was thinking. He was thinking, I'm going to fit this ball in there every time. And you get the good and the bad, You got the wow plays, and then you also have the, what the heck was that interception plays? Do the heck in there for you so you don't have to believe it. So,
Thank you.
But I don't know. I do agree with you, though. It's like they're very different quarterbacks, very different all around. But that's where I see the similarity is in the mentality of believing they can make every throw, and I think that leads to similar boom and bust type plays. That's what I guess most people be our Frank. Maybe I'm giving people too much credit. That's what I see. So So anyway, Jaguars this week. It seems kind of like a trap game for us. I don't know. The Jags, I think, are better than a 2-5 team, but they could pop off any week. So can't be sleeping this week, and I don't think we will be. So anyway, go Packers.
Well, I still, excuse me. I think the numbers are important for context. I understand what you're saying. If that's all you're saying, then that's fine. I don't think that's what most people are saying, and even beyond that, I don't know that just that statement matters all that much, because there are people that couldn't get a starting gig in college that have that mentality, and you have some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time that have that mentality. The question isn't what style of quarterback you are; it's how effective you are, right? It's like, the label of gunslinger. That's not inherently good or bad. And I think the problem is everybody's trying to make it either good or bad. I mean, and again, if we're just making it a characteristic, I mean, yeah, nobody's arguing with you. Everybody kind of understands the way Jordan plays, I guess. But from my perspective, it was very important to get into the numbers because nobody's right about this. Nobody. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody else has mentioned what I mentioned. I don't think so. So again, I just want to be correct about it. Yes, you're right. He believes he can make. I mean, I've said that 1,000 times on the show. He believes he can make every throw, and that's the good in the good, and that's also the bad in the bad. The problem is there's too much bad. That's the problem.
Hey, Ryan from Virginia again.
Hey.
Hate to break it to you, but Kay Adams is not a Packers fan. She is actually from Chicago, and she is a Chicago Bears fan. But actually, recently,
let me just say this: she gushes over the Packers more than anybody else. If she's a Bears fan, she is a terrible Bears fan because all she talks how much she loves Jordan Love and how much she loves. I mean, she'll say she loves the Pack. I don't know. She loves Matt LaFleur. I don't know. I've never seen her gush over the Bears, but I mean, I don't care. I'm just saying it's very odd to me to see all these very prominent, especially female media members that are all flocking to the Green Bay Packers all of a sudden.
Yeah, man, it sounds like she dumped the Bears and she's now a Bengals fan. But, yeah, I know when she was on Good Morning Football, she was always the Bears fan on the show.
I guess that does make sense for a Bears fan. That's usually what you do. What is my definition? Somebody who hates the Packers and their second favorite team is the Bears. That's what they do. And it's surprising. You'd be surprised how often it's for an arbitrary team. It's the Bills, and this is back before the Bills were any good. It's the Bills, it's the Eagles, same thing before they were any good. It's all these random teams that I kept hearing that they're fans of, like, oh yeah, or the Broncos. Like, what? I don't know, it's what they do.
And all that, but
by the way, she's not a Bears fan if she doesn't hate the Packers. So maybe she is just a Bengals fan. I don't know.
She is from Chicago. But never
by the way, so am I. So doesn't mean anything.
Been a fan that trashes the Packers or anything. She's always had good things to say about the Packers, even though. So I don't know if she was really like a diehard Bears fan or just like, hey, I'm doing the football thing now, and I'm from Chicago, so I'm a Bears fan, But anyway, go back.
It would be funny to go back and look because I see Kay Adams constantly, and it's always gushing over. And I know Rodgers, like she's done stuff with Rodgers, and Rodgers is now a Jet, but. Maybe it's just because she wants to hang out with the cool kids and there's nobody cool in Chicago at all. But has she talked to Caleb Williams at all, ever? Has that even happened? I think maybe she's like culturally a Bears fan because she grew up in Chicago, but she's the girl that wants to sit at the cool kids table, and that is the Green Bay Packers. So I think it just is what it is.
Yo, Ryan, it's your uncle, Rico.
What's up?
How's it going?
Good.
What in the world? Who would think? What kind of? Hello, Karen? Is that you? Hello, Karen? Seatbelt? Jordan Love putting down a seatbelt? What? Excuse me? Excuse me? What? No. It's a sword. A sword. Like I said, with a W. A sword. All right, dude. Just wanted to talk about Karens and seatbelts. Nobody even likes seatbelts. Why would you even bring that any kind of thing that's supposed to be fun. Well, let's get out the seatbelt. Seriously. Rico out.
No, I was very sad when, because I saw him do the celebration. I'm like, oh, he's sheathing a sword. It's like, yeah, that's so cool. And I mentioned it on the podcast, and a few people reach out and they're like, actually, it's a seatbelt because he's like locking down. He's like clamping down the guy. He's strapping him up. Strap like a seatbelt strap or something. And I'm just like, don't explain it. It's making me sick. It's so stupid. Don't do it. But again, how many stupid things has this defense come up with that are just awful when there's really good options just sitting there, and they go with the worst ones ever? But I'm glad to hear that Jair's like, nah, dude, that's a freaking sword. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Hey, Trevor, Virginia again. I don't know why these calls always seem to happen in bunches, but here I am again. Anyway, we for years talked about Packers injury trouble, and it was a lot of like hamstring stuff like that. There's players in and out. And it definitely, I'm not saying we didn't have a problem or anything, but man, can you imagine being the 49ers? Like, why do you not hear about them needing to fire their air conditioning guy, or whatever? They just, half of Kyle Shanahan's seasons, he gets a pass because he's had so many injuries. People are like, oh, no wonder they had a losing season. It's like, his overall record isn't that great, but it's like he always gets a pass because of the injuries. They've had how many running backs go out for the year since he's been there? And Brandon Ayuk just got paid. He goes out for it's just like, it seems like it's just a revolving door of players there, not with like a pulled hammy, but with like serious injuries. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, we're hyper focused on the Packers and see we see things from the Packers side, but you look around the league and we're not the only ones, and there's other teams that have it worse even. I mean, it's just crazy to me how I know a big part of injuries are just a little flukiness, but they just really seem to be staked in. Not that they were playing super well anyway this year. I mean, them and the Chiefs have both come down this year. So anyway, the Chiefs keep winning, but it's all the defense. The offense is like garbage, and I don't DeAndre Hopkins is the answer. People think it is. So anyway, go back, go.
Yeah, the 49ers used to be much more common. I remember they would be really good, and then they'd have their quarterback could get injured, and who knows who else, bunch of other injuries. And then they'd end up getting like a top 5 pick, and then they'd load up, and then they'd be kind of good, and then they'd be bad, and they get another top 5 pick, or it was like 3 years in a row they got that or something. I don't know what it was. Usually they got a bunch of defensive line, but it kind of paid off. They finally got a quarterback, and then you got Bosa, and then it's like it all just kind of clicked. But the other thing that nobody ever talks about is how the 49ers never actually seal the deal and get the job done. They've been to the Super Bowl. They never actually won it in this Shanahan era. And now they've got the injury bug again. So, I could look at it and go, well, this is just time for them to, re-up, get some more talent, get another top 5 pick, whatever the case may be. And that kind of sucks, but at the same time, it's like, how many years into the Shanahan thing are we, and why would I believe that this would somehow turn their season? Or, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. Yeah, they're having a brutal hit, but I think they've had enough good things go their way for a while. I wouldn't mind it. I'm still thinking they're going to turn things around, get into the playoffs, and cause some havoc, but we'll see how she goes.
Ryan, I couldn't agree with you more. This whole new development with Saleh acting as an advisor to LaFleur, I think, is a game changer, because him presenting as a defense that can give input to LaFleur's preparations, I think will just do nothing but refine how sharp this offense could be, and can only probably improve the efficiency of his preparedness when it comes to certain plays, because I know that he's been kind of caught off guard a few times, and just off the cuff have made calls that maybe he shouldn't have. But I think this can do nothing but improve how the offense moves forward from here. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
When it comes to getting closer to the trade deadline, I know we've got this full spectrum of people speculating what would happen. And we've seen in the past, Judy has surprised us and if he's made moves, and you look at how this year's, the NFC, at least, a lot of teams are playing really low right now as far as their outcomes of games so far. Teams are really limping along, and I just feel like they need to, grab the bull by the horns and make a move. And the latest speculation that I've heard that actually makes a lot of sense, and I feel like it wouldn't cost them that much, so it's right up Beauty's alley, is perhaps trading for Chase Young, defensive end for New Orleans. He's been in the top 10 as far as, I think, pressures are for the NFL, for the NFC maybe, or NFL. So he's one prospect. The other one, another player on the same team, Lattimore, a defensive back that's a shutdown defensive back, could be a huge improvement. So there are those two guys. I don't really see very many others. There's always somebody that Goody could surprise us with and plug in. So anything to spark the team a little bit more. I think these two guys could be potential guys.
Yeah, I've always been somewhat of a fan of Marshawn Lattimore. I've talked about it numerous times, but that draft class was just something pretty special. Lattimore hasn't necessarily lived up to the hype, and honestly, it wasn't the crazy. I mean, we've seen several guys get drafted earlier than Marshawn Lattimore at 11 now, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I was just kind of early into my draft paying attention to-ness thing. But, he hasn't been the greatest, especially since, 2017, 2018, his first 2 years, he was dominant. Since then, he's had, well, technically 2 good years, this being one of them. But again, I first of all, I'd have zero issue with that because Marshawn Lattimore sets a really high floor. Even if he's not a quote-unquote good player, which you could argue he is, he's having a pretty good year this year. He's allowed 7 receptions for 68 yards, 2 pass breakups. That's really all he's allowed this year. Plus, again, you factor in Marshawn Lattimore's been the number 1 cornerback there for a very long time. He comes here. He ends up as the number 2 cornerback behind Jair Alexander. Chase Young really, really struggling this year for the first time. You're right. As far as pressures and stuff, he's been pretty solid, especially 2023, which is weird because he was with 2 different teams. Washington and San Francisco. Maybe it was a San Francisco thing, but 74 pressures and 11 sacks that season. 573 pass rush attempts. This year, 27 pressures, 2 sacks on 233 attempts. It's still over 10%. That's better than a lot of our guys. But he has a 55 grade, 49 run defense, 59 pass rush. So he's not grading out well at all. But would I be interested? I absolutely would. And I could see Gutekunst being interested in that one. Probably even more so than Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn is, he's 28 and a half years old. Chase Young is still just 25. Now, he's had some, issues and injuries and hasn't been able to stay on a team. I mean, the fact that he went from Washington to San Francisco to New Orleans kind of makes you wonder. But at the same time, you're talking a number 2 pick, putting him on the opposite side of Rashawn Gary and letting the guy just tee off. On top of that, potentially, if you want to get super macro with this thing or super, 3D chess with it, maybe we could try to also move Preston. I hate that I keep doing that because he's a really good dude and all that, but he's getting up in age and he's not producing. So if there's any way to get anything for him and then you flip him for Chase Young, I'm not talking equal value clearly, but you're basically just getting an improved pass rusher that is 5 years younger and can stay here for a very long time. And I don't know that he is going to be getting a big contract. Again, he's been on 3 teams so far. That's not good by the time you're 25 years old, which is also a benefit because it doesn't mean he's going to cost a ton. Now, I have no idea if New Orleans would be willing to trade at all. Probably not. But, again, they're San Francisco got him. You'd think there's no way they're getting rid of this 24-year-old guy that's really productive at a 75 grade, and I gave you all the stats. They did. They moved on. Like, nah, we're good. New Orleans picked him up, and he's not producing to that level. So, if their season isn't going well and they can get a little draft capital for him, I mean, no way in the world is it costing a first-round pick. Whoops. Probably not even a second-round pick. I don't know. It definitely could be interesting. We'll have to see. We'll have to track this a little bit, see how it goes with New Orleans. All right, let's take our first break. We'll come back and hear from Nico.
What up, Ryan? It's still Victory Thursday today. So
nice.
Just kind of been just thinking about the game because I'm a nerd. I do that, and if our offense and special teams didn't have the little quirks they had, and I think I mentioned this earlier. I forget what I say, but I think kind of overshadowed how good our because I couldn't believe it. I went online briefly. I don't like to, but every once in a while I got to dip the old lure in the water.
Sure.
And there was so many people complaining. I'm like, oh my gosh. But without those little snafus on special teams and offense, we freaking dog walked this team, and Houston's a very good team. So I think kind of overshadowed that. And I'm saying all that to say this. I think we can say now, because we've been through this many times, I think we got a good defensive coordinator. And yes, you got to have the players. And obviously when Jair came back in. Like when Jair came back, all of a sudden Rashawn Gary looks good. I think those two areas feed off each other. You stop people from passing, you can get pressures and sacks. You pressure the guy, you become a better cornerback. So, but it's like a yin and yang thing. But anyways, I think we got a good defensive coordinator. Very happy about that. Really, all the system. We talked about this before the season. How many dudes on our defensive staff could be defensive coordinators or head coaches somewhere else? Probably a few. But so yeah, man, defense is coming along, and I really feel that those little quirks. I'm almost okay with us being like we are now, because I'd kind of rather be sort of putting the pieces together so we peak at the right time. I watched football a long time. I'm an old guy, and I've seen a lot of teams peak at week 6, I want to peak at like week 17. Not really, but that end of the spectrum. So I'm happy with how it's going. I really think Jordan Love will fix little issues. Whether it's him fading away, like I've heard other people say, I mean, when he does it sure looks pretty dang good. I think he picked that up from Rodgers. And then there's all this comparison on him and Favre and him and Rodgers. I guess that's kind of how we are as humans. We want to compare everything to everything. This burger from this place tastes like this burger from this place. This guy throws the ball like this guy played 20 years ago. My ex-wife, like my first wife. I don't have an ex-wife. I still have my first. It's a weird concept. You pick one and stick with it, right? Holy moly, I've been rambling for almost a few minutes. Damn.
And I'll say it to my next one, too. Listen, I don't mind comps, even if they're ridiculous comps. It's just, the problem is when we start getting crazy. Like, it happens all through draft time constantly. And you'll hear things like, he looks like Tom Brady, he looks like Pat Mahomes. And I don't think, a lot of times we'll just blanket say it's stupid. It's not necessarily stupid. The question is, what do you mean? I say stuff like that because I mean it in very, broad strokes kinds of ways. But, specify. Like we had, was it Trevor? Trevor saying, all I mean by Brett Favre is that he believes he can make every throw. It's like, oh, all right, fair enough. The problem is when people are like, he's like Brett Favre and he was a Hall of Famer, so we're fine. It's like, no. See, now you're making one-to-one comparisons, and now it becomes a problem. Like, it's one thing to make a comparison in a small way, or even a vaguely broad way. We got this and that. The problem is when you take it too broad and pretend they're like the exact same guy. That's not correct. He reminds me of Pat Mahomes. Okay, what do you mean? You mean he breaks the pocket and throws sidearm and he has a lot of zip on it, even though he doesn't put his body into it, and can make some ridiculous strong arm throws? Is that what you mean? Because yes, he has done that on occasion. The problem is he's missing X, Y, and Z that would make him this good, and that's the part that concerns a lot of people. But, it just depends what we're talking about. I don't mind it. I just think some people do comps and then everybody else is like, yeah, Brett Favre, therefore. It's like, no, you can't extrapolate it to everything else. That's not how that works. Sorry, Nico, please continue.
But anyways, that's kind of what we do. We want to put everything in a category and compare it. And yeah, he's got a little bit of aspects of both of them. But, all these people are like, he's like, and when they say he's like Favre, I think they all mean it in a negative way because, and you kind of touched on it on yesterday's pod. I don't know if any of these youngsters can remember the Favre days. I think you can. I know you're a youngin'. But I remember every Sunday was like a Super Bowl. And he started the game with 2 interceptions. But then he'd throw 4. I mean, just being able to watch I feel very blessed to have my favorite team have those 2 quarterbacks, Rodgers and Favre, throughout most of my adulthood. Because they were both amazing in their own little way. It's really hard to pick a favorite. If you could have Brett Favre just sitting on the interceptions, it would be him. Just the toughness, the grittiness. But man, living under Favre was not the worst time in the world. So if he's like Favre, I'm okay with that. And I think he's equally like Aaron. You remember how Aaron was, kind of like 17, 16, 18, whatever, when he would just throw the ball away. Did he have like 100 throwaways in one season, which is nuts?
He broke the record by a mile. It was insane.
At that point, we were like, all his fans go, hey, once you pitch the ball out there and, be a little more like Favre. So he could be like Favre. I'm okay with that. Like I said, I think he'll get his interception next, but I tell you, we better freaking dog walk this team. I know it's Florida. We don't tend to do good down there, but I tell you what, I'm just very excited about the season, especially really because of the defense. Those picks we got this year that somehow made our backfield amazing. Evan Williams. I'm going to go get a bottle of Evan Williams today. But man, I tell you, just very excited. I don't know why people are so angry. As far as the jerseys went, I don't like it. The white on white, even the dark on dark, I don't like it. Some reason it always makes me think of the Lions. I always remember the Lions being like one of the first to saw wear the same color as top and bottom. I didn't like it. But, at least the one, I'll say this, if they bring that uniform back every other year, as long as we win with it, then we'd say, well, we're all away. We're, undefeated, whatever. But, the helmets I thought were a little bland. They looked really good in the like the promotional stuff that came out a few months ago, but that's a little bland. But yeah, whatever. You can't make it excited every time. But anyways, go Pack Go. Very excited about the season. Here's hoping no one gets hurt. I shouldn't have even said that.
That's anyways, on you now.
Peace out.
Yeah, lots of reasons for optimism. No question about it. I think it was you in the last call. I didn't really comment on it, but as far as where we were last year, we for what as annoying as it is the team takes such a long time to really ramp up. Packers are a diesel engine, man. It takes a little bit to get her going, but that frickin' thing will get going, And when you factor in they're winning, even after losing our quarterback for 2 games, it's impressive stuff. So got every reason to be excited. I am impressed with myself. We're down to 12 calls. I don't know if we're gonna finish, but let's see what we can do.
What's going on, Joe Modified Fighter? How y'all doing? I remember what I was going to say because I forgot the last time I called because I was so excited about the win. It was just like a relief. When I was talking about Matt before, I know everybody's talking about the end around, which I'm not saying don't ever call it end around. It was just the 3rd and 1 end around was the only one that really kind of pissed me off. It's like because you're using like 3-4 yards in a different direction before you even get the yard. So I feel like on that one, it's kind of a waste on 3rd down. But anyway, the other thing I didn't hear nobody talk about yet was that us receiving the ball first. Due to everybody with the analytics and everything else, that a lot of teams choose to receive the ball in the second half for multiple reasons. That if you score right before halftime, you get the ball back. If they score, you get the ball back. And that's what the Texans wanted. So for us to ask for receiving the ball, then add on top Jordan Love turnovers, and he turned the ball over, we just gave them like 2 free scoring drives. You know what I'm saying? So even if, I don't know why, I'm thinking maybe he was like, you don't want Jordan trailing to throw the interception, but obviously it doesn't matter. So he needs to just take it off the table. We need to always receive the ball in half, because either we can score and then score twice, or if we're losing, we get an opportunity to turn around in the second half. I'm not liking this get the ball in the first half or the first time. Even if we score first, I still don't like it unless you're playing like a team that like...
Well, yeah, you feel like you have to, because if you get the ball and you don't score, that's it. The only kind of advantage, it's not even an advantage, but the only kind of advantage you had is gone. So now you're just screwed. And then, you know, if the other team is able to score and then score, you know, get the ball back again, and even if they don't, they get the ball and they have the opportunity to score first. I don't like it. You know, it's kind of equal in terms of you can either start in the first or start in the second. You have the opportunity to score first, except the difference being sort of that you have the opportunity to score twice in a row. I don't know the math on that necessarily, but I don't like receiving the ball. I just don't.
Can't score a lot. You want to just hurry up and change the way they do things. But I'm not a fan of that. That was my critique on that, because even if, like I said, he likes getting the ball first, if you know the person you're going against likes getting the ball in the second half, I feel like, well, you should intentionally not give them what they want and have faith in your offense that, like, well, I'm not going to give them what they want, but we still can score whenever we get the ball. You know, that would be my whole thought process on that. So, anyway, tell me what you think about that. All right. I enjoy hearing all the people calling that we haven't heard in a while. So keep it up. Y'all like part of the Packernet family. Got love for all of y'all, and I might have to make it down there for the draft, or up there, excuse me, for the draft, just to see everybody face to face. Anyway, go back, go.
Yeah, I agree. It's good having everybody back in. It's especially funny to kind of get some of the old people from back in the day to kind of chime in and be like, "Oh yeah, what's going on, man?" Kind of forget after a little bit of time. But speaking of the family, I know we're deep in it. I understand. I get it. We talk football. We should, all that stuff. Just saying, Halloween's coming up. If we wanted to talk about some other stuff, it's possible that I'm doing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre marathon to find out which ones are the best. That's all. I'm just saying. No big deal. Hello? Oh, that was an easy one. All right, that one's done.
Well, it's Nico here, just sitting on my porch watching the Vikings lose. Yeah, he definitely got his face mask, but I don't think they were going to win.
They were not going to win.
You know what? I don't know if you remember. There was a time back in the Rodgers days when we were 4 games behind with 4 games left. And we had to, and then we played the Vikings. We had to win all 4. The Vikings had to lose all 4. And all my buddies that were Vikings fans were like, no, there's no way. No, we're going to lose all 4. You're going to win all 4. Well, guess what? That's what happened. Packers are 4 games behind the division lead with 4 games left. And we won all 4 games. They lost all 4 games. So that's what the Vikings do. You know, sometimes they come out strong and do one of those things. So I tell you what, the Rams, you know, they got Cup back. They got Puka Nacua back.
Yeah.
They might make a run for the playoffs, and offensively they definitely can do stuff. I do wonder. I kind of wonder how when I know we lost the Vikings, but let's face it, we scored 30 points in the fourth quarter. I wonder if people are using that how we kind of annihilated them through the air. I wonder if people are using that, because they said, you know, they lost to the Lions. They lost tonight against the, you know, I didn't look at Stafford's stats, but he was hopping the ball downfield pretty good. So it's nice to see the Vikings are slowly going back to where they belong. And as long as we keep rising, we should be good. Just got to worry about the Lions. Hopefully they can regain some of their Lions form from a couple years ago, you know, when they sucked. But anyways, good day for us. Yeah. So we'll just see how this goes. Yeah, go Pack go. And can't wait for Sunday. But anyways, I'm gonna go. And excuse me. You have a great one.
Sorry, clicking on stuff. Yeah, we'll see about the Rams. They're in a bit of a hole here, but they are now 3-4. They got Seattle coming up, so they got a little bit of extra time, and then a familiar opponent. It is in Seattle, but if they can pull that off, they go to 4-4. Again, if you let's just say you need 10 wins again, they got they got 8 more games. They're at they got to win most of their games from here on. I mean, they could get in with 9 possibly. I don't really know the numbers on that. It would depend on everybody else, but they got some tough games, man. They got Seattle's not going to be easy. Miami, presumably Tua's back. I don't know what's going on with that. That's freaking weird. Patriots are a win. Eagles are tough. Buffalo, 49ers, even the Jets are going to be tough. Cardinals might not be that easy. And divisional opponent, then Seattle divisional opponent. I don't know, man. I don't know if we're going to see them in the playoffs or not. On top of that, there's been a lot of talk about moving on from Cooper Kupp. You could say, well, they're not going to now because they just won. I don't know, dude. Cooper Kupp is getting up in age. I don't know. I think you take the win with Puka Nacua and you move on. Did we take a second break? I don't think we did. Let's take our second break. We'll come back and hear from Nate.
Oh, Vikings. Oh, Vikings. Oh, how's that undefeated season going? Oh, wait, that's right. You lost last week and then you lost this week. I believe that is called a losing streak. I think when you lose more than one game, it's a losing streak, which you might remember that terminology from every other season that you've ever played in the history of all time that has ever been, because you're just not a good team. You're just not a good team. Now, you might be pretty good this year, and yeah, you beat us, but did you really think this was going to be your Super Bowl run? Did you thought that?
I said before, this is a really cruel year for Vikings fans because they had no expectations coming into this year whatsoever. Nobody did, including Vikings fans. And then the Vikings are like, no, we're really good. And it's like, nah, I don't think so. It's like, no, we're really good. Like, watch, we're going to win all these games. And then they get to exactly the point where all Vikings fans bought in. Some of them obviously bought in day 1, day 2, day 3. But at this point, you get to undefeated after 5 wins or whatever it was. You're feeling great. You're feeling like this is real. I can't believe it. Darnold is the real deal. This defense is unstoppable. There might have been a couple holdouts just waiting for a disaster, but they got to the point where everybody was bought in. Even I was to the point of being like, frickin', I guess, here we go. And then it's a 2-game losing streak, man. That is a team that just is finding creative ways to hurt their franchise.
Oh man, that's kind of embarrassing. But I was getting so sick of the comparisons to the no-name defense and all this. You really think that you were going to be the second coming of the no-name defense, the undefeated Dolphins team defense? Really? Wow. Okay. All right. I mean, I've got some cool confidence there, but if you let the Rams hang 30 on you, so let that sink in. Then as far as offense goes, remember that Sam Darnold is your quarterback. And I know, everybody's like, oh, he figured it out. Did he though? I just, oh man, that is, oh God, I'm so happy. Oh, I'm so happy. I was hoping for exactly this. I was hoping that they would have this undefeated start and then start to collapse. And do I think they're going to lose the rest of the season? Probably not. It's the NFL. It's, you're going to beat somebody, but it's already just so satisfying. And I would love if they just dropped enough games to drop down into last place in the NFC North. If that happened, oh man, I'm throwing a party. I'm throwing a party, and everybody from Packernet After Dark is invited. So keep that in mind. Go Pack, go, and the Vikings.
Oh, there it is. Well, I appreciate you putting it at the very end. Well, we definitely needed that. We needed the Vikings to drop one to a really bad team, and they can convince themselves, no, it's not that bad of a team. Dude, listen, you know what I can convince myself of? You were never actually that good. You beat the Giants, who suck. You beat the 49ers when, first of all, they're not a good team, period, but even before they started to figure things out. You beat the Texans, which seemed impressive, but I don't know, man. And then your number one defense gave up 29 points to the Green Bay Packers. You did beat the Packers, but this was the first week back. Jordan looked like garbage. It would have sailed right past you, plus the Packers defense looking a lot better. Then you held the Jets to 17, which seemed impressive until we got a couple more looks at the Jets and realized that team is garbage. And then you had your bye week, and you gave up 31 points to the Lions and 30 points to the Rams. I don't know. I don't know that your defense was ever all that fantastic. I mean, again, Packers came out playing like garbage, threw up almost 30 points. Kind of surprising. But the other bad thing is they already had their bye week. So you had your bye week. That's when you're at your freshest coming out of that. You lose to the Lions, right? You had a whole extra week to prepare for that game, and you got spanked in the mouth. Then you lose again to the Rams. Again, they got some easy ones coming up. The problem with some of the easy ones, though, is they're on the road against the Rams. Then they come home against the Colts. Then they're on the road again. They got to go all the way down to Florida. Then they're on the road again to the Titans. Then they're on the road again to the Bears. I mean, it's very similar to the Rams, where it's like, these are easy wins. These should just be boom, 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 easy wins. But there's an excuse, just like with the Rams. It's Thursday, short week, da-da-da-da-da-da. Cardinals can be tricky. Falcons can be tricky. Bears, you got Bears in there twice in 4 weeks. I don't know if you're better than the Bears. I really don't. Seattle, and that's all the way in Seattle. That's another long trip for the Vikings. Then you got to come back and play Green Bay. It is at home, but I don't think it's going to go the same way. And then you got the Lions again. That sucks, and that's in Detroit this time. I mean, they could feasibly lose their last 5 games, 6. I mean, probably not 6, but I mean, really, Chicago, Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle, Green Bay, Detroit. I mean, Indy, Jacksonville, and Tennessee are pretty easy. They better win all 3 of those to get to 8. And I'm hoping Chicago is a fluke, but if they're not a fluke, they probably have a better defense than you. And I don't know about the offense, but if they've got even a competent offense, or if God forbid that quarterback has figured it out, you're probably going to lose to the Bears. And then between the Cardinals and Falcons, maybe you win 1. You lose to the Bears, lose to the Seahawks, lose to the Packers, lose to the Lions. I know that seems far-fetched and it seems crazy. I mean, come on, they're going to get the requisite wins to get in. It's not a big... But I've watched these collapses before. Maybe the losses are kind of a fluke. I mean, you almost beat Detroit, right? And then LA was just kind of a fluke. You kind of underestimated them, whatever the case may be. And by next week, you're right back in it. Or, I don't know. We'll see how she goes.
Back East Bramble.
What's up?
Growing tired of fans and everybody taking victories, examining the negatives from that specific game and that specific week, and then acting like those are just going to happen every single week going forward. A win's a win.
Yeah, that is one thing you got to remember when you win the football game is that you won it, even with the negatives, right? So that is worth noting.
Maybe we need to get out of looking at stats and PFF grades and just look at the record and celebrate a team winning football games with the mistakes that are being made. Jesus Christ, people, get over it. It's been bad interceptions. Oh my God, the sky is falling. Whew. I mean, Jesus. The way we're talking, it seemed like we were 2-5. Love has 54 interceptions. Never had such a bad time listening to people talk about man. Anyhow, I'm going to pick up 4 of the fellas from the airport, Tampa, and we're heading to the game in Jacksonville on Sunday. So we'll be there optimistic, having a good time and celebrating our team regardless of what happens. I'm not going to sit here and be a chicken little, right? Sickening. Anyhow, go Pack go. Talk to y'all later.
Yeah, again, it's hard to know without the context. Things can be taken too far in either direction. I've heard, I've had people call in already saying, this is why I don't like a thing, and then they list only the bad things, and it's like, what about the good things, though? Why don't you remember the good things? But at the same time, there are a lot of people that again, just want to be positive all the time. Who cares about the numbers? Just look at the wins. Well, first of all, I wouldn't have a podcast if I did that. I certainly couldn't do a daily podcast. I can maybe do once a week where we just check in and I say, hey, everything's great, we won. But I like information, so I'm going to look at information. But, I mean, beyond that, to be serious, I mean, there's a reason why, I've said before, I looked at the Lions record and I said, I don't believe it. I think they're going to get better. And I looked at or not even the record. I don't know if the record was ever bad, but they're Jared Goff and whatnot. And look at the Vikings and said, I think they're going to start losing. And it's because what happened isn't necessarily the best indicator of what's going to happen in the simplest form, right? Well, you won, therefore you're going to keep winning. Well, not necessarily. And we should know that better than anybody. I mean, we just got done talking about the Vikings and how often they win and then they start falling apart. If there are underlying issues that are existing but are kind of just not, you're not paying for it, it's going to come due. And in regard to the negatives, no, I'm not going to get away from the bad stuff, because the bottom line is these things are going to come back to bite us. It reminds me of Jordan when he first started, where his EPA was the highest in the NFL and his CPOE was the lowest in the NFL. And it's like that's never happened before. And it's really a question of, okay, they're not going to stay this way, but are they going to come down together? Is it going to be more one comes down than the other? How this thing settles is going to make a big difference. I don't think Jordan's interceptions stay this way. I don't think his touchdowns stay this way. What are we going to have? And the same with the pass rush. What happens to the pass rush? We're just talking, right? That's why I'm not saying I think we're going to lose this, that, or the other. But it is worth noting these things. It's worth having the information and recognizing that, yes, we won. That doesn't mean that we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. And since part of what I do is try to predict the future, it's good to look at all the information, because that's how you do that. That's how you best predict what's going to happen, is by looking at all the information, the good and the bad.
Hey, Ryan. This is Trucker Bob again.
What's up?
And I want to get back on this Jordan Love interception thing that
you're going to take off Brandon
here. A lot of people just keep saying, well, he's out of control, and there's so many bad ones, et cetera, et cetera. However, not if you actually look at the actual statistics, instead of just cherry picking certain ones that fit your narrative. For example, let's take the stat of interceptions to touchdown to interception ratio. If you go to team rankings, you can take a look at the top 50 quarterbacks of all time on interceptions, TD to interception ratio. Of course, there's no surprises here, but number one is Aaron Rodgers. Number two is Tom Brady. Well, we go down the list and we find that Love's touchdown interception ratio is 2.2 to 1. In other words, he throws just a little over 2 touchdowns for every interception. Now, if you look at the top 50 all time since the very beginning of NFL football, we go all the way down to number 18. At 2.2, that's where Love would be on the all-time list. Now, he's not on the list because he hasn't thrown 1,500 passes yet. But he would be 18th in NFL history of TD to interception ratio. In other words, Love was really doing really good his first 2 years in the league. And we keep saying, well, he throws all these wild bad, he's a gunslinger, he's this, he's this. No, he's not. He's one of the best controlled passers in the history of the NFL. And we get this narrative, and we run it, and it's not true. He's doing great. I'll have more to say in my next post. Check Bob out.
Well, I think that is kind of interesting to think about. Is it just interceptions, or is it the touchdown to interception ratio? In other words, you can sustain interceptions so long as you outpace them with touchdowns. I think that's it's a fair question. Maybe the only pushback I would have on that, just off the top of my head, is you can have a high touchdown rate because of the people around you, whereas the receivers, the tight ends, the offensive line, they help prop you up so that you end up with a lot of touchdowns, but then you also throw a lot of interceptions because you're stupid. Theoretically, that could be a thing. But it is possible to look at it and say, because like we've talked about, Brett has thrown more interceptions than a lot of quarterbacks, certainly more than Aaron Rodgers, but that doesn't mean he was worse. In fact, he's thrown more than some guys that would be considered bad quarterbacks. So why is he good? Well, it's a lot of the other stuff, and you could argue it's the touchdown to interception ratio. I don't know. The other things that I would push back on are his touchdown to interception ratio this year, which is what people are complaining about, is not 2.2 to 1. It's 1.9 to 1. And then the final thing that I would push back on is I don't know, I've always said that if you want to find out how good a stat is, sort by that stat and see what kind of a list you have. And if you just stay at the top, it's a pretty good list. Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, on and on. But you look at it, okay, Dak Prescott is 8th. Deshaun Watson is 9th. Colin Kaepernick is 10th. Yikes. Kirk Cousins is 11th. Drew Brees, you think, well, is this just recent? No, Steve Young is 19th. So, no, Joe Montana is 31st. In fact, the 2.2 number would have him 18th. He would be sandwiched in between Jacoby Brissett and Steve Young. Jacoby Brissett, I mean, you can say he's 18th best in NFL history. That sounds great until you realize he's tied with Jacoby Brissett, who's a backup quarterback. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about it all that much. I mean, we know Aaron Rodgers was very good at it, and we know that was a great thing. 4.33 was his touchdown to interception ratio, which is ridiculous. And it's great because it means he got a lot of touchdowns and he got very few interceptions, and that's a good thing to have generally. I don't know outside of that how much more touchdown to interception necessarily tells us, I guess. Because again, we got a metric here that is Colin Kaepernick top 10 in NFL history, and he doesn't belong top 10 in anything. He was not very good. But still an interesting question as far as, can interceptions be weathered depending on the touchdown to interception ratio? I don't really know. I'd have to think about that a little bit.
Okay, let's get back to this touchdown to interception ratio. The top 5 were Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Lamar Jackson.
Right.
They're all at the 3 or more touchdown to interception ratio.
Correct.
After that, the best ones are in the 2s. I made a mistake. Love is actually 2.27 touchdown to interception ratio so far in his career. That makes him tied for 16th place with Jeff Goff. This idea that he's wild and out of control isn't true. He just has interceptions like any other quarterback. The problem is we way overemphasize them.
Well, I don't think that's true. I mean, listen, he's number one in the NFL in interceptions. He isn't throwing it just like anybody else. He missed 2 games, and he has more interceptions than everybody else. I don't want to downplay that. That's not a thing to downplay. That's not good. He is 3 interceptions away from all touchdowns he threw last year through 17 games. That's 8 interceptions in 5 games. Over a 17-game season, that's 27 interceptions. I mean, I'm not trying to sit here and dwell on it, but I can't pretend it's not a big deal, because it's not a big deal.
16th on the entire NFL list of all time. Brett Favre is not even in the top 50.
Which should tell you something. When Colin Kaepernick is 10th, he's tied with Jared Goff at 16th, and Brett Favre isn't on the list.
Just for a comparison, here are some quarterbacks that Love is doing better in touchdown to interception ratio. How about Derek Carr, Steve Young, Peyton Manning, Tony Romo, Kyle Murray, Matt Ryan, Tua, Andrew Luck, Rivers, McNabb, Roethlisberger, Montana, Stafford, Jalen Hurts, et cetera, on and on. He has one of the best in NFL history. What more do you want? Really? I hope he stays this way for the rest of his career. He is doing very, very well. He's one of the top quarterbacks in NFL history. Think about it. Trick-a-bow-bow.
Well, in that stat, he is. And again, I'm surprised at that list and how unimpressive it is. But, yeah, suffice it to say, I wouldn't agree that I want him to stay the way he is. I would love it if he stayed the way he was last year. I think 11 interceptions in 17 games is great. 8 in 5 is not my favorite in the world.
Hello, this is Rich from South Carolina.
What's up?
Driving down with my son Mason to attend the Jacksonville Jaguars game.
All right.
Hopefully make it more into a home game for the Packers.
Love it.
I got to say, I made this strategic decision not to bring the Cheesehead hat. I always feel that's a little rude to wear. Maybe I appreciate your commentary there, since it does probably obstruct some view.
It's probably true.
And I'm also hoping to break a trend of attending losing football games by the Packers.
Oh, no, don't tell me that.
Last year it was the Falcons where they beat us. I attended the...
We already got a bunch of people worried this is a trap game. Now we got a guy with a losing streak going to this game. We're fighting an uphill battle here, Rich. Oh, you're making me nervous.
The 49ers playoff game up at Lambeau where it was snowing, and we lost that one. This has got to be the winner, right? And then last thought of the day is I will be coming with a Kenny Clark jersey, and I am hoping that brings the Kenny Clark mojo. And wanted your thoughts on whether or not Kenny is going to show up for this game. Thanks. Talk to y'all soon.
Well, again, I'm a little nervous. My immediate gut reaction was that I'm super nervous that you're going with the Kenny Clark jersey, just because it feels like is it me? It just felt like that's the wrong one, you know? Maybe listen, that could be perfect. That could be the exact right thing, because if we can get a Kenny Clark comeback game and everything else, like, this could be huge, you know? Who knows? But it just everything feels bad. I hope you have a great trip. I would love to be able to go. And I scolded somebody else for not inviting me. I might as well scold you too. How dare you? But oh, that makes me nervous. Sorry, I'm way too superstitious about this stuff. I hope it works. I'm going to keep an eye on Kenny Clark, and we'll see how she goes. We have 4 more. Let's do this.
Yo,
3 more.
Brian.
4 more.
It's Drunkle. Rico.
Hey.
How the heck are you, buddy? I was just listening to the pod. It's like a week-old stuff. You're talking about the Bears chanting anti-Packer stuff because they're a bunch of losers and they got nothing better to do. But I just wanted to tell you that I have a T-shirt, 2 T-shirts. One says, "Oh, how I hate Ohio State." And I would wear that anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm kind of like a Bears fan. I'll wear that sucker, not just to a Badgers game, or Badgers Ohio State game, but, to anywhere, just to let people know Ohio State sucks. So, I guess I'm like a Bears fan. I also have another that says, "Ann Arbor is a whore." So,
huh.
I don't know.
I don't know what that means, but
when you maybe I understand. Did you hear that? I just cracked a cold one. By the way, when you're on your podcast, you're always cracking cold ones, like maybe Cokes or Diet Cokes. Is that what you're drinking on there?
Sparkling water.
Every time I hear that cracked one, it makes me want to go get a beverage. So I think
I'm jonesing so bad. I've been out for a while. I got a bunch of cases coming for tomorrow. I don't know why I just haven't ordered any cases to come. Amazon will get them here tomorrow for dirt cheap, but I'm sitting down here and I'm absolutely just jonesing for another. I think that's why I pause, because sometimes I'll rip through so many of them. But I'll be sitting here doing the podcast and I'll grab my can and it's empty, and it's like I just have to. I can't not. So weird addiction. I guess if you got to have an addiction, bubbly water would be the one.
You should be getting some royalties from Coca-Cola, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the Bears and their that's just, I take that as a compliment. Anytime the Bears fans want to chant anti-Packer stuff, I'm like, Thank you. We're awesome. Rico out. Go Pack, go.
Well, that's very obviously all it is. I mean, if the Packers were irrelevant, they wouldn't do it. I love how much everybody hates us, because it's a reflection of how much abuse the Packers have bestowed on the rest of the teams in the NFC North. It's why they're the most hated team. So it is a badge of honor. But I still am going to let them all know how pathetic it is.
Hey, Pack Daddy, it's Saturday and Green Bay's probably getting up and ready to get on the plane to head to Jacksonville.
Dang.
And I'm just wondering, that scene from Con Air where they
yes, I do.
They load up Garland Green,
yes,
the character that Steve Buscemi plays.
Yeah.
The mass murderer, where I think he's like on a motorized wheelchair. He's got a full face mask on.
Sure.
Or he's like in this plexiglass box to be transported.
Yeah.
Do you think McNugget's going to have to get that same treatment?
I don't know what to say to that, but that's freaking funny. I didn't know where you're going with that. Beyond that, did somebody not just call with that same thing? They were calling and asking about Con Air and the guy that came on, and we didn't know whose name it was. I swear that, I don't know if it's deja vu, or I know I didn't play that call already. I'm so confused that I swear that already happened. But anyways, as I'm sitting there pondering what the heck is going on in the universe, I did not know where that was going, and that was perfect. Uncle Rico?
Chill, Brian. It's your Uncle Rico. Hey, I'm still trying to catch up on some pods, so
tell me about it. I'm trying to catch up right now.
Some older ones here when we just acquired McManus, and when we did, I had done a little reading.
We don't call him that here. It's McNuggets, or there's another name too, but we try to stick with McNuggets. Sometimes people get a little crazy.
On that, and am I missing something? And maybe you have talked about this at length, or you were just talking about on the one pod about his comparison to Anders and whatnot, and that we feel it's a good acquisition talent-wise, but the allegations against him, am I missing something? What I read is that he basically asked a bunch of stewardesses to party and tried to kiss one. That's what I got out of it. And maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I missed something else, but it seemed pretty tame. I mean, he's got a wife. He shouldn't be asking stewardesses to party or kissing anyone,
That's
but
not great.
that's not illegal.
True.
He didn't say anything about groping or grabbing or anything like that. I don't know. Is there some information out there? I mean, so from what I'm just wondering, because from what I read, that there's no reason he should be in legal trouble. Maybe he's a dipshit, but I don't know. But anyways, let us know what's up, bro. Let us know what you know if you haven't already. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep listening and maybe I'll know. All right. Go Pack Go. I'm going to smoke the Jags tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. Rico out.
You're putting me in a tough spot here because there are rules to this game, Uncle Rico. Good Lord. I am at my wit's end with this thing. There are rules to this game, Uncle Rico. There are things you're not allowed to say these days. I don't know. Even if it was almost nothing, I don't know if I could even say it was almost nothing because I don't know. Let's say this. There was one additional, let's see, maybe two, I guess you could call it, more allegations that things that he did that were inappropriate, I guess you could say. Man, you put me in a tough spot here. What is that move? Man, we're in a tight spot. Oh, that's oh brother, where art thou? He just keeps saying that. Damn, we're in a tight spot. I think having not been there, you could fill in the blanks in a very negative way, or you could fill in the blanks in a very positive way where it really wasn't that big of a deal. I do think trying to kiss a steward, because part of the whole thing, you know, because again, you could build this out to be as positive as you want, where it's like it's a big party, everyone's up dancing, drinking, he goes and kisses a girl on the cheek and she didn't like it or something, you know, whatever, I don't know. But in this case, I think the stewardess was seated and seat belted during a period of turbulence, so not the best time to do that when somebody's restrained, you know what I mean? Allegedly. There's also some, you know, sort of high school dancing type of stuff, you know, where the you know how you do it in the high school dances and whatnot between the males and the females. And again, you could try to picture that to be like, oh, it's not that bad, you know. You're dancing and you just go up and you start dancing on someone. You don't think it's that big of a deal. Apparently it was while they were like trying to serve food though, you know, so that's not good. It sounds like they were trying to have a party and the flight attendants were not interested in having a party, and maybe McManus didn't get the hint. I don't know, man. I don't know. I wasn't on the freaking plane, all right? Don't ask me questions about things I don't know, Uncle Rico. Jeez.
Ryan, this is Ray McCready from Missouri.
What's up, man?
I just want to say, it's hilarious that you think that it was fake, but I love that you love it. That is actually my real name.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My son is actually a junior, so yeah, it's cool that you like it. But, you know, it's kind of funny because, like, I go to doctors and stuff, and there'll be a new nurse, and they'll come out and call me back, and I can see their eyes kind of like struggle. And they either like attempt my name or they just skip my name and say my last name. It's pretty funny. Anyway, I was super stoked to see the game in Jacksonville. I'm super fired up. I think the offense is going to play lights out. And, you know, we have a defense, which is just crazy to say. I can't remember too many years we've had a good defense. Had good pieces, but overall, defense has kind of not been our strong suit. But, yeah, I think the Packers, I think their biggest opponent is really themselves. I just see so much talent, and even on sloppy games, we are almost won.
or we just dominated, even though, like, it just wasn't a clean game. When we do play clean games or clean times, like, it's just amazing to watch the Packers play. But anyway, that's all I got. Go, Pack, go.
Yeah, and I'm always going to be somewhat of a skeptic. I mean, they've been good the last couple weeks. We'll see how it goes. You know, I don't know. Things might fall off. You know, I don't know. But no, I'm very happy. I'm happy with what we're seeing on defense. I'm happy with the way the team plays. I'm happy with everything, really. I mean, it might not sound like it sometimes. I don't mean to be. Sometimes I sound negative, but I don't mean to be. I'm just reporting the news, I guess. But I am happy. I'm extremely happy. Jordan's our quarterback. I wouldn't trade him for anybody. I love our wide receivers. Stoked about Tucker Kraft. Still optimistic about Musgrave if he could ever get on the field. Offensive line, I think, is solid enough. You know, there's plenty of complaints about our offensive line, but I think we really do have a better offensive line than a lot of teams. Maybe not as good as we used to have it, but we've been unbelievably spoiled for a long time with great offensive lines, and I have the utmost confidence that we're going to just continue to get better. I just think it's been I don't want to say it's been on the back burner necessarily, but you know, we've done a lot of late picks, and then this year we didn't do as many picks. We got a first-round pick, but he's been hurt the whole time, didn't really get acclimated, so I feel like there's a big swing coming on top of having, you know, I mean, Sean Ryan's coming into his own. We're going to have Morgan is going to become, I think he's going to become, in my opinion, I think worst-case scenario, he'll be okay. Obviously, that could be wrong, or he could be terrible, but that's where I'm at right now. But I think it's all coming into focus, man. I love our coaching staff. I love our GM. I'm excited about all of it. I think we've got everything we need. I'm kind of with a lot of people in terms of wanting to do something, you know. I'm not usually big on we need to trade, we need to go all in, we need to. It's not even about that. It's just, you know, see what you can do to give yourself a little edge. If there's something, it's not do anything at all costs, and if you don't do anything, you're a piece of crap. I mean, there has to be the right thing. But I do believe that Gutekunst has that mentality. He definitely is a much more aggressive person than Ted Thompson was, where he just wouldn't do anything ever. But we'll see how it goes. But I feel like we've got as good a team as anybody right now. It's maybe not playing at its best, but obviously when the talent is full throat, it's going to be something awesome. So, well, we got through all of them. I'm a little bit shocked, but I'm going to get out of here. It's 10 o'clock. I got to get this uploaded. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.